5 Stoic habits for men who want to be unbreakable. Most men believe they will discover their strength when life finally tests them. They imagine that one day, when everything begins to fall apart, something extraordinary will happen inside them. That courage will suddenly appear. That discipline will finally arrive. That they will somehow become the man they always hoped to be. The Stoics believed something completely different. They believed that no man becomes strong during a crisis. A crisis never creates character. It only reveals the character you have been building every ordinary day. Think about the strongest man you have ever known. Not the loudest, not the richest, not the one who demanded everyone's attention. The man who remained calm while everyone else was losing control. The man who kept moving when others surrendered. The man who could be trusted because his principles never changed, even when his circumstances did. Do you think he became that man overnight? Or was he quietly becoming that man long before anyone noticed? Marcus Aurelius understood this better than almost anyone in history. He ruled the most powerful empire in the world during one of its darkest periods. War surrounded his borders. A devastating plague spread through Rome. Political betrayal followed him constantly. He lost people he deeply loved. Every new day demanded impossible decisions. Yet when you read Meditations, you never find a man complaining that life is unfair. You never find him searching for an easier path. You never find him waiting for motivation. Instead, you find a man training his own character, one ordinary decision at a time. That is why history remembers Marcus Aurelius. Not because he escaped suffering, because suffering never changed the man he had trained himself to become. This is the greatest misunderstanding about mental strength. Most people believe resilience is built during extraordinary moments. The Stoics knew resilience is built during ordinary ones. It is built when your alarm rings before sunrise, when nobody would know if you stayed in bed, when you keep a promise that nobody else remembers, when you choose discipline instead of comfort, when you tell the truth even though lying would be easier. Those moments seem too small to matter, but they are quietly shaping the person life will eventually reveal. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 11, paragraph 18, Marcus reminds himself that a person's true character is revealed by the choices he repeatedly makes, not by the circumstances surrounding him. He understood that greatness is never created in a single dramatic moment. It is earned through consistent actions guided by reason. That is why becoming unbreakable has very little to do with becoming fearless. Fear never disappears. Pain never disappears. Uncertainty never disappears. The real question is whether your habits become stronger than your circumstances. Because when life finally asks, "Who are you?" it will never care about your intentions. It will reveal what you have been practicing every single day. In this video, you'll discover the 5 invisible Stoic habits that transformed ordinary men into men that adversity could no longer break. Not through talent, not through luck, not through motivation, but through habits so quiet that almost nobody noticed them while they were being built. And the first of those habits begins in the place where character has always been created. In private. Habit 1. The habit nobody sees. Every man wants respect. Most men try to earn it where everyone can see. The Stoics earned it where nobody could. This is the first habit, and perhaps the most important one, because every other habit grows from it. Modern society encourages performance. It rewards appearances. It teaches men to look disciplined instead of becoming disciplined, to look confident instead of becoming trustworthy, to build an image instead of building a character. Marcus Aurelius rejected that way of living completely. He understood that your private habits always become your public reputation, not immediately, but inevitably. The conversations you have with yourself when nobody is listening, become the voice you hear during moments of pressure. The promises you break in silence slowly destroy your confidence. The promises you keep quietly become the foundation of your self-respect. That is why identity is never built in front of an audience. It is built in moments that seem completely insignificant. The moment your alarm rings and you decide to get up anyway. The moment you finish the work you promised yourself you would complete. The moment you put your phone away because you know your attention deserves something better. The moment you choose patience instead of reacting emotionally. None of these decisions will impress anyone. Nobody applauds them. Nobody celebrates them. Nobody even knows they happened. Yet each one casts another vote for the man you are becoming. Marcus Aurelius understood that integrity is not measured by what other people see. It is measured by what you repeatedly choose when nobody is watching. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 5, Paragraph 20, he reminds himself that the value of a person is found in the principles he refuses to abandon, regardless of whether anyone else notices. Think about that for a moment. Every morning you are making promises. Sometimes you speak them aloud. Sometimes they exist only inside your own mind. I'll wake up earlier. I'll stop procrastinating. I'll start exercising. I'll become more disciplined. Every time you break one of those promises, something invisible happens. Your mind begins to doubt your own words. Without realizing it, you teach yourself that your commitments are negotiable. That is one of the most dangerous habits a man can develop, because eventually the person who stops believing in your promises is not your family, not your friends, not your colleagues. It is you. The Stoics refused to allow that to happen. They understood that the strongest relationship any man will ever build is the relationship he has with himself. Every promise kept strengthens that relationship. Every excuse weakens it. That is why character grows in silence. Long before the world sees your success, you have already decided whether you deserve your own respect. And once you become a man who trusts himself, something remarkable begins to happen. Discipline no longer feels like a struggle. It begins to feel like your natural identity. But the Stoics didn't stop there. They believed there was another habit just as important, because they understood that waiting for hardship to build strength was already too late. They trained long before life ever demanded it. Habit 2. Train before life forces you. Most men make the same mistake. They wait until life becomes difficult before they decide to become stronger. They wait for heartbreak before learning emotional control. They wait for failure before building resilience. They wait until their health begins to decline before taking care of their bodies. They wait until they lose something valuable before realizing how much they should have appreciated it. By then, life has already become their teacher. The Stoics believed wisdom begins much earlier. They believed the strongest man prepares before preparation seems necessary. Imagine a Roman legion during a time of peace. There is no enemy at the gates, no arrows flying through the air, no battle taking place. Yet every morning the soldiers train. They repeat the same movements, again and again and again. The shield, the sword, the formation, the discipline. To an outsider, it almost looks unnecessary. Why prepare for a battle that hasn't even begun? Because experienced warriors understood something beginners never do. When war arrives, it is already too late to build discipline. The battle only reveals the discipline that already exists. Marcus Aurelius governed his own mind exactly the same way. He never assumed tomorrow would be easier than today. He prepared himself every morning for disappointment, for criticism, for selfishness, for uncertainty. Not because he expected the world to become cruel, because he refused to let the world surprise him. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 2, Paragraph 1. Marcus begins his day by reminding himself that he will meet people who are selfish, dishonest, arrogant, and ungrateful. He writes these words not to become pessimistic, but to strengthen his own judgment before life has the opportunity to test it. That changes everything. Most people wake up expecting comfort. The Stoics woke up expecting reality. And when reality finally arrived, they remained calm. Expectation changes your relationship with difficulty. If you expect life to be easy, every obstacle feels unfair. If you understand that difficulty is part of being alive, every obstacle becomes another opportunity to strengthen your character. That is why the Stoics deliberately practiced voluntary discomfort. Sometimes they wore simple clothing. Sometimes they ate modest meals even when abundance was available. Sometimes they chose the harder road on purpose, not because suffering itself had value, because dependence was dangerous. Marcus Aurelius knew that comfort slowly becomes an addiction. At first, you simply enjoy convenience. Then you begin to expect it. Eventually, you believe you cannot function without it. That is how freedom quietly disappears. The modern world makes this trap even more dangerous. Food arrives without effort. Entertainment never ends. Distractions are available every second of the day. Every inconvenience can be avoided. Every uncomfortable emotion can be escaped. Little by little, comfort begins making your decisions. The Stoics refused to surrender that responsibility. Every small act of discipline reminded them that they, not their emotions, were in command. Cold mornings became training. Hard conversations became training. Keeping promises became training. Every uncomfortable decision strengthened the same invisible muscle: character. Most people think resilience is built during crisis. The Stoics understood resilience is built long before anyone notices it, because every ordinary challenge is preparing you for one that has not arrived yet. The workout you almost skipped, the difficult conversation you almost avoided, the temptation you quietly resisted, the responsibility you accepted instead of escaping. None of those moments seem extraordinary. Yet together, they create a man who no longer panics when life becomes difficult. Marcus Aurelius understood that storms never create strong men. Storms simply reveal who continued training while the sky was still blue. But there is another enemy even more dangerous than comfort. One that can quietly destroy a disciplined man from the inside without him ever noticing. His own ego. Habit 3. Master your inner world. There is an enemy that has destroyed more men than failure ever has. It cannot be seen. It carries no weapon. It makes no sound. Yet it quietly influences thousands of decisions every single day. That enemy is the ego. Most people imagine the ego as arrogance, someone who constantly talks about himself, someone desperate for attention, someone convinced he is better than everyone else. Sometimes it looks like that. More often, it looks completely different. The ego is the voice that refuses to admit it was wrong. The ego is the part of you that takes every criticism personally. The ego is what makes you defend bad decisions simply because they were yours. It convinces you that protecting your image is more important than improving your character. Marcus Aurelius spent his entire life fighting this invisible battle. Think about who he was: the Emperor of Rome, the most powerful man in the known world. Millions obeyed his commands. Entire armies waited for his decisions. If anyone had a reason to believe he was always right, it was Marcus Aurelius. Yet when you open Meditations, you discover something astonishing. You do not meet a man obsessed with proving himself. You meet a man constantly correcting himself, again and again and again. Every page feels less like a king giving orders and more like a student reminding himself how easily the mind can lose its way. That may have been his greatest strength. Not intelligence, not authority. Humility. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 6, paragraph 30, Marcus reminds himself that whenever reason reveals a better understanding of the truth, he should immediately accept it without pride or resistance. Changing his mind was never a defeat. Refusing to learn would have been. That idea is almost revolutionary today. Modern culture teaches people to defend their opinions. The Stoics taught men to defend the truth. Those are two completely different lives. One is built on validation. The other is built on wisdom. Ask yourself something. When somebody corrects you, what hurts? Is it the mistake or the feeling that someone else noticed it? Most of the time, it is not the mistake that creates discomfort. It is the ego. The ego hates correction because correction threatens the identity it has carefully constructed. Character welcomes correction because correction creates growth. That is why emotionally strong men rarely become defensive. Not because they enjoy criticism, because they understand that every honest correction removes another weakness they could not see on their own. Marcus Aurelius constantly examined himself before examining anyone else. Before judging the world, he judged his own reactions. Before criticizing another person's behavior, he questioned his own. That habit alone separates wise men from ordinary men. Most people spend their lives trying to change everyone around them. The Stoics spent their lives mastering the only person they truly controlled, themselves. But mastering yourself is not only about controlling pride. It is also about protecting the place where every decision begins. Your mind. Think about how many voices compete for your attention every single day. News, social media, advertisements, opinions, arguments, comparison, fear. Without realizing it, many men leave the gates of their minds completely open. Anyone can enter. Anything can remain. Marcus Aurelius would never have accepted that. He treated his attention like the walls of a fortress because he understood something that modern neuroscience continues to confirm. Whatever repeatedly occupies your attention eventually shapes your behavior. Every distraction steals a little more focus. Every unnecessary comparison weakens gratitude. Every hour spent feeding anxiety quietly strengthens it. That is why discipline begins long before action. It begins with attention. The strongest men are not simply careful about what they do. They are extremely careful about what they repeatedly allow themselves to think about. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 8, paragraph 48, Marcus reminds himself that the mind always possesses the power to choose its own judgments, regardless of what happens outside. Circumstances may knock at the door. Only you decide which ones are allowed inside. Imagine owning the most valuable fortress in the world. Would you leave its gates open day and night for strangers to enter whenever they pleased? Of course not. Then why do so many men leave the gates of their minds completely unguarded? Every distraction that enters your mind today influences the decisions you will make tomorrow. Every thought you repeatedly entertain becomes another brick in the foundation of your character. This is why mastering your inner world is not a luxury. It is a daily habit, one that quietly determines every other habit you will ever build. And once you learn to protect your own mind, something extraordinary begins to happen. You stop reacting to life. You begin living according to the man you have decided to become. That is the fourth Stoic habit. Habit 4. Live by standards, not feelings. Most men spend their lives waiting to become the person they admire. They believe that one day they will wake up feeling disciplined, feeling confident, feeling courageous, feeling ready. The Stoics believed that day never arrives. Because identity is never something you discover. Identity is something you practice. Every decision you make is a rehearsal. Every action is a vote. Every ordinary day is shaping the man you will become tomorrow. Most people think the process works like this. First, they become disciplined. Then, they begin acting like disciplined men. Marcus Aurelius understood that reality works in exactly the opposite direction. First, you act. Then, your identity slowly follows. That is why waiting to feel ready is one of the greatest mistakes a man can make. Imagine two men standing at the beginning of exactly the same journey. Both want to become mentally stronger. Both want more discipline. Both want more confidence. The first man keeps asking himself, when will I finally become that man? The second asks a completely different question. What would that man do today? One waits, the other practices. One imagines, the other becomes. That single question changes everything. What would the disciplined version of you do this morning? Would he stay in bed? Or would he stand up immediately? What would the emotionally resilient version of you do after being criticized? Would he react emotionally? Or would he remain calm long enough to understand the lesson? What would the honest version of you do when nobody else would ever discover the truth? That is where identity is built, not during extraordinary moments, during ordinary decisions repeated with extraordinary consistency. Marcus Aurelius lived according to this principle every single day. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 6, paragraph 30, he reminds himself that the purpose of a rational human being is to act according to reason in the present moment, not tomorrow, not when circumstances improve, today. That is why he never waited for confidence. He practiced courage. He never waited for discipline. He practiced discipline. He never waited to become wise. He practiced wisdom. The remarkable thing about identity is that it never argues with repetition. Repeat an action often enough, and eventually your mind accepts, this is who I am. That is why habits are so powerful. Not because they change your schedule, because they quietly change your self-image. Every workout completed, every promise kept, every temptation resisted, every uncomfortable conversation faced with honesty. Your brain collects every one of those moments as evidence. Eventually, it reaches a conclusion. This is the kind of man I can trust. That is something motivation can never give you. Because motivation disappears, evidence remains. This is also why the Stoics lived by standards rather than emotions. Goals are important. They give you direction. But goals eventually end. Standards never do. A goal says, I want to read 20 books this year. A standard says, I am a man who learns every day. A goal says, I want to become healthier. A standard says, I do not negotiate with habits that protect my health. Goals create destinations. Standards create identities. Marcus Aurelius never woke up asking, what do I feel like doing today? He asked, what does my character require of me today? One question follows emotion, the other follows principle. That difference separates ordinary men from extraordinary ones. Because extraordinary men are not extraordinary every once in a while, they are extraordinarily consistent. That is what standards create. They remove negotiation. They remove excuses. They remove the endless debate between comfort and responsibility. The decision has already been made. Every morning simply becomes another opportunity to live according to it. That is why truly disciplined men appear calm. Not because life became easier, because they stopped asking their emotions for permission to do what they had already decided was right. And once a man begins living according to his standards instead of his feelings, he discovers something almost nobody expects. Discipline no longer feels like sacrifice. It begins to feel like freedom. That is the final habit Marcus Aurelius understood better than almost anyone who has ever lived. Habit 5. Become the man life cannot break. There is one final lesson the Stoics understood that most people never do. The strongest men rarely look extraordinary while they are becoming strong. They do not wake up every morning feeling unstoppable. They do not feel motivated every single day. They do not possess some secret confidence that other people were never given. Instead, they quietly repeat the same habits until those habits become their character. Look at the world around you. Social media celebrates intensity. The Stoics admired consistency. The world celebrates appearance. The Stoics respected integrity. The world rewards attention. The Stoics pursued character. That is why truly unbreakable men are often difficult to recognize. They rarely speak the loudest. They rarely seek admiration. They rarely feel the need to prove themselves. They simply arrive, do their work, keep their word, remain calm, and leave. Most people mistake that quietness for ordinary. It is anything but ordinary. It is the result of thousands of invisible victories that nobody else was present to witness. Every morning, they chose discipline instead of comfort. Every difficult conversation they refused to avoid. Every temptation they quietly resisted. Every promise they kept when breaking it would have been easier. Those moments never became headlines. They became character. Marcus Aurelius understood this better than almost anyone. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 4, paragraph 49, he reminds himself that a person's life becomes whatever his thoughts and repeated actions continually shape it to be. Greatness was never something he hoped would arrive one day. It was something he practiced every ordinary day through reason, discipline, and consistency. Think about that for a moment. History remembers Marcus Aurelius as one of the strongest men who ever lived. History does not remember the thousands of mornings he forced himself to do what was right. It does not remember every temptation he resisted, every private correction, every silent decision, every promise he kept. Those moments disappeared. Their results never did. That is how every great life is built. Quietly, long before anybody notices. Imagine meeting yourself 10 years from today. Not the version that exists in your imagination. The real man created by your daily habits. Now imagine two different futures standing in front of you. In one future, you kept waiting for motivation, waiting until life became easier, waiting until you felt confident, waiting until tomorrow. Years passed. Very little changed. In the other future, you stopped negotiating. You stopped asking your emotions for permission. You stopped searching for perfect circumstances. Instead, you made one simple decision: to practice the right habit. Every day, no matter how ordinary that day seemed. One promise, one difficult choice, one honest conversation, one disciplined morning, one moment of courage. Again, and again, and again. Almost nothing changed overnight, but everything changed over time. One day, people began describing you differently. Disciplined, calm, reliable, resilient, mentally strong. They assumed you were born that way. They never saw the invisible work. The mornings nobody applauded. The sacrifices nobody celebrated. The habits nobody noticed. And perhaps that is exactly how it should be. Because real strength has never needed an audience. It has never depended on applause. It has never required recognition. Real strength is the ability to remain faithful to your principles after motivation disappears. Marcus Aurelius never tried to become famous. He tried to become worthy of his own respect. That is why nearly 2,000 years later, the world still remembers his name. Not because he escaped suffering, because suffering never changed the man he had already become. Tomorrow morning, your alarm will ring. Your responsibilities will still be waiting. Your excuses will still sound convincing. Nothing outside you will have changed. Only one question will matter. What kind of man will my habits create today? Answer that question with your actions. Not once. Not when you feel inspired. Every single day. Because becoming unbreakable is never one decision. It is thousands of invisible decisions made when nobody is watching. If this lesson changed the way you think about discipline, character, and mental strength, subscribe to the Discipline Code. Every week, we explore timeless Stoic wisdom that helps modern men build self-discipline, emotional control, resilience, and the quiet confidence that no circumstance can take away. Remember this: your habits become your character. Your character becomes your destiny, and your destiny is being built today.